Okay, so welcome to this slow flow class. We're going to start in a seated position. So you might like to prop yourself up on the edge of a blanket or couch cushion or block or anything that helps you get a little bit of pelvic tilt and find a nice straight spine. And just settle in a few shoulder rolls or any little twists you need. We're going to be looking at a little bit of thoracic rotation today, so a bit of twisting. So take anything you need to kind of feel a little bit looser, a little bit more aligned, and then settle into some sense of stillness. Maybe you close down the eyes or send a nice soft gaze towards the floor. And settle into noticing the breath. Noticing the effects of the breath when you start to generate a little bit more depth with the inhale, a little bit more length with the exhale. And then start to work on a breath where the exhale is a little longer than the inhale. So if your inhale is going for about a 4 count, and your exhale might go for a 6 or a 7 count. We'll look for 5 more breaths like that. For these last 2 or 3, imagine the breath going right up into the top back corner of the lungs, right into the bottom back corner of the lungs, really expanding into the front of the lungs. Looking for those exhales to create a real sense of ease, and softening any gripping in the face, the jaw, anything in the neck, the shoulders. And then a gentle transition from your seat down onto the back. In a moment with the feet flat on the floor, in this reclined position, looking to feel the length of the spine long along the mat. And then shuffle the feet out so they're a little bit wider than the mat. You might even take them a little further away from you and what feels comfortable. And we just generate a little bit of twist by moving the lower body, so rocking the knees gently from side to side. Beautiful. And then bring the feet somewhat closer together over to the right side of the mat. And we're going to roll onto the hips and the shoulders, so lying on our left side. So you might like to bring in the blanket or anything else, maybe it's a pillow, underneath the head to give you a little bit more support here. Then the bottom arm, the left arm, is going to reach out. I'll try and get a little bit more in shot there. Bottom arm is going to reach out in front of you along the floor. And then the top arm is going to reach over and place onto that bottom hand. And get a sense of reaching forward and past that hand with the top right hand. And then start to draw a circle, fingertips on the floor, up above the head with that right hand, leaving the left arm where it is. And then trace all the way around behind you until maybe the shoulders come all the way down. until there might be space to reach the arm all the way out straight. I'm colliding with the wall here. You might have a little bit more room than I do. And then you're going to lift the arm and reach up over the top and come back down to connect on that left hand. Do that 2 more times. So find that reach first, find a little bit of length and extension, and then start to trace the hand all the way up around behind you, all the way out to the right, and then come up over through the midline and over on top 1 more time. Nice big reach, and then all the way up around behind you, above the head, and all the way to the other side. And then last time, come all the way up through the midline. Beautiful. Depending on your ease of vision, you might simply roll to the other side or shuffle yourself to the other end of the mat, which is what I'll do so you can still see me. And then come to lying on your right side this time. So bottom hand will be the right hand reaching out and the left hand will go on top. Again, start with that reaching past, extend over, and then trace the hand up over the top behind you, reach all the way around, and the outstretched left arm, maybe that shoulder's coming somewhere down near the mat, and then come up and over the top once again, left hand. Twice more as we reach, and then start to draw that big, wide, spiraling circle. And then bring yourself back through center. And again, reach. And come back through center. Beautiful. And then just come to notice. So come onto your back once again, shuffle your way there. Might shuffle the blanket out of the way if you'd rather the head be on the floor. And come to a position where the feet can be flat and knees might be slightly knocked in. And then bring the palms to face up or anywhere else on the body. And just notice the body, notice the breath. And then a slow shuffle and make your way up to a seated position. So coming back to a seat, you might like the opposite cross of the legs if you want to sit cross-legged again, or you might like to come to kneeling. We're going to add a little bit of gentle twisting and moving from a seat. So bring the palms in front of you like you're holding a dish, like you're holding a platter. Elbows somewhat into the side body. And take a nice full inhale breath. And then gently exhale into the twist. So hands might just somewhat stay where they are, bringing some attention to where the shoulders are pointing as you twist. Or you might like to cross them over in front of you. So front hand will reach over for opposite knee and the other hand behind you. And then come back through center. We'll find a bit of breath rhythm with this. So any variation with the arms really, as long as you're bringing some attention to breath, finding a nice rhythm and working with this rotation. You might even like one hand to come to the center of the chest. And working into your pace, your rhythm, letting your breath be the guide. And then 2 more to each side. And then let that all settle in the center, hands to the lap, the knees, wherever feels comfortable. Noticing the body, noticing the breath. And then we'll come forward, making your way to a tabletop position. So I like a little bit of extra support for the knees because practicing on quite a hard surface, even with the support of the mat. Support of the blanket for the knees is quite nice. So I've got a blanket under my knees and then setting up a tabletop with wrists under shoulders, give or take, and knees under hips. And any kind of movement that's calling to start with for a little shimmy and settle in. And then we'll start simply with some cat-cow. So dropping the belly to begin, coming into cow pose, and gently lifting the gaze. Try not to throw the head back too much. Try and keep a nice broad shoulder space, so shoulders away from the ears. And then creating this forward tilt or anterior tilt of the pelvis here. And then press the mat away, round a dome through the upper back, broadening the space between the shoulder blades, gazing back towards the knees, chin drawing into chest. And then 2 or 3 rounds just moving with your breath rhythm, or even slower than that. Looking for this sense of flow or coherence. And then we'll meet in your variation of child's pose. So it might be knees together and arms back, or it might be knees out wide, arms reaching forward. And then we'll add some side body lengthening from here. So if you do have the hands back, reach them forward and start to walk them over to the left, getting a little bit of extra length through the right side body. If you do like to take this one a little deeper, it might be that you bring the left hand down to the mat beside the left knee and add a little bit of twist from here. And then gently back through center and over to the other side. Adding any variation you took on that first side, if that's what brings you to balance or feels right for you today. And then bring it back. That neutral center point, rise back to the knees. Again, maybe a moment of pause, sit in that stable place. Grip the mat a little bit with the hands. And then press down through the left hand. Reach the right arm up and out to the side. You might keep it at about shoulder height. And maybe if you take it a little further, just exploring what happens in the body, you might accidentally throw the hips out to the right. Maybe you try and focus on keeping some tone in inner thighs. Or the other option is to bring the hand behind the head, bending at the elbow. And see if you can keep a sense of neutral through the pelvis as you rotate through the spine. And then come back through center. Maybe it's hand back down to the mat, or keeping the hand on the back of the head and bringing the elbow to the opposite wrist. I'll open a few more times. You might be doing it again with the outstretched arm or with the bend in the arm. And the next time you come into the twist, we'll take thread the needle. So right hand reaches in behind left wrist, reach out to the floor, and coming down onto the side of the head, the shoulder. An option to adjust the position of this left hand, you might reach it a little further forward to get some length in the side body. You might reach it back and rest it on the low back. Any position that keeps a sense of stability for you. Have further variations, you like adjusting the leg here and reaching it out as well, feel free to do that. And then notice the mid-spine, that thoracic area. Imagine sending breaths into that space. One more breath here. And then make your way back up, nice and controlled, to that tabletop position. You might prefer to sit back on the heels for a moment, come off of the wrists, give them a little bit of movement. And then we'll set up for the other side. So set yourself back in your nice neutral tabletop position. Bring that little bit of awareness to the belly. And then start to take left hand out to the left. It might pause at about shoulder height. And then as you start to explore a little bit more high, you might notice those hips swing over to the left. Can you keep them neutral? Maybe that limits the amount of twist you have, but just be with that. Or hand behind the head as you explore a little bit of opening. And then moving those two options, moving with the bend in the arm, hand to the head, and the elbow crosses towards the wrist. Or you might be moving with the outstretched arm, exploring a little bit deeper, a little bit higher. Another two. And this time we'll come into that thread the needle twist and hold. So the left hand's coming behind the right wrist, reaching through and coming down onto that right shoulder. You might stay here or reach your right arm a little further forward or even back for the bind or half bind. And you might even like to lift and extend that right leg over and out to the right. And two more full deep breaths. Beautiful, gently make your way back. And then come back to neutral tabletop position. And we'll sit back on the heels. Feel free to tuck the toes for a little more. And give the shoulders a little bit of attention, which might be rolling them, or it might be taking the hands behind the back and opening through the front of the chest. Nice. From there, rock back onto the feet so you're in this little squat. I'm just going to move my blanket. And then from the squat, plant the hands on the floor. Start to straighten into the legs, bring the heels down and come into a forward fold towards the back of the mat. Maybe the elbows come up to the thighs, or maybe you reach for opposite elbows and hang for a moment here. Then bend the knees enough to plant the hands. And start to bring the right foot behind and beside the left. Bend into the knees enough to fold over the legs. And then you'll start to search for a little bit of twisting in that lower body. Maybe it opens into outer hip on the right if you walk over to the left. Maybe outer hip on the left if you walk over to the right. But start to explore. You might go a couple of times to each side. And then pause in the place that feels like the right place for you today. We'll take 5 breaths. Adjusting maybe how much you fold or how much you lean forward, lean back, lean to one side or the other. Look for your sweet spot. And then adjust, bring the hands back to center, untangle the legs, and then take it to the other side. So left foot moves this time, behind the side of the right, bend into the knees, and again explore. Maybe the left, maybe the right, maybe a few times to each, and then find your fold and hold. A few breaths. That hold might involve a little bit of working a little bit more bend into the legs and then a little bit more straightening. Or it might be more static than that, just holding. You might even bring the hands off of the floor and take them to opposite elbows if you feel strong and stable today. And one more breath here. And then gently untangle the legs once again. Bend into the knees. Start to walk the hands forward. Bring the knees down to the mat as you do so, walking through tabletop position until you slowly lower the belly all the way to the mat. Bring the hands forward and out wide, come up onto the fingertips, press down into the feet and lift like a baby cobra variation. And we'll add a little bit of twist to the upper back, dropping the shoulder in towards the midline as you gaze over the opposite shoulder. And then back through center, switch to the other side. Again, through center this time. As you drop the shoulder into the midline, think about the opposite leg bending, pulling the heel in towards the bottom. So as I drop my right shoulder in, I'm pulling my left heel. And as I come through neutral, I neutralize the legs as well. And then switch to the other side. You might like a few breaths on each side. I'll take another 2 rounds, a little bit more movement to the rhythm of your breath. And then we'll come back through tabletop and into either child's pose or sitting back on the heels. A few breaths here, an opportunity to notice the body, notice the breath once again. And we'll meet in a downward facing dog. So bring the hands forward, tuck the toes, and lift yourself up. Find that down dog shape. And then any kind of pedaling out, twisting of the hips here. Exploring the low back, exploring the backs of the legs, exploring that shoulder space, gripping the mat just a little. Bringing a little bit of awareness to the base of the pinky finger. Imagine you're squeezing it into the midline, just a little. Keeping that pinky finger grounded to the mat if you can. And then we'll twist our down dog a little bit by bringing the feet closer, so it's a shorter length to your down dog. I'll keep my left hand down and reach my right hand for my left leg. And you might gaze under the armpit here. You're working in this little short dog, maybe with a bend in the knees to explore a little bit of twist. Try not to force it too much with that hand. Just use it as an easeful assistant. Yeah, and then come back through center, take it to the other side. One more breath, and then back to neutral. Take a moment to let that settle. And then bring the knees down, and once again come down onto the belly. If you'd like to come forward to high plank and lower from there, feel free. Pardon my wardrobe malfunctions. And then come out wide with the hands, so you're
in this somewhat of a T shape with the hands. And then we're going to come into a little bit of a twist from here. So start to gaze to the left, slide the left hand in a little, pick up the left leg, and then start to take the left leg over as you roll onto the right hip. We're looking for a little bit of stretch sensation through the front of the chest and that right shoulder. Maybe the head stays on the ground. You might support it with a prop, with a blanket or something like that, and then really adjust the position of this foot. So it doesn't have to be a big twist in the low back. You're really trying to avoid any forced twist into that lumbar region. So adjust the position of that foot so that you can focus the attention on opening across the front of the chest. And a couple of breaths here. And then gently change to the other side. So slowly come back through center, gently gaze to the right, stretch the left arm out, slide the right hand in, pick the right leg up and take it over. And again, stretching out through the front of the chest. Taking a nice breath into the back body. One more breath here. And then come back through center. Moment of pause, bring the forehead to rest on the hands, folding the hands in front of you. And you might just stay here in a neutral position, or you might like to bend at the knees and find a little crisscross of the legs, or even just swing them side to side. I really like the crisscross, it feels nice and balancing. And then settle yourself, press up and back. Find a moment, once again, of child's pose. Again, if you prefer to sit up on the heels, please do so. And then with mindful, gentle control, swing the legs around and find your way to your back. Draw the knees into the chest, gentle rock side to side. You might like a happy baby to finish. Hands to the back of the thighs, or hands to the shins, or hands to the feet as you draw the knees towards the armpits. Looking for length through the spine, looking to ground through the tailbone and the shoulders. And then when you're ready, finding your way to your Shavasana shape, a place where you feel nice and settled. After this short practice, you might take your Shavasana lying on your back. You might take it on your side, or even your belly if that feels good today. And feel free, of course, to sit up to close your practice if you prefer to be there. Wherever you're at, just allowing the body to settle into the support beneath it. And practicing the art, this technique of relaxation, allowing the body to ground, settle. Looking to release any gripping, any holding, any tension, and maybe you do that using a nice awareness of your exhale breath, and you might even deepen the exhale breath intentionally to allow the body to release and ground. Your Shavasana.
And if you do have more time and you'd like to spend a little longer in your Shavasana, feel free. Absolutely exploring and sensations of softening, grounding. If you're wrapping it up there, bring the awareness back to the breath, and maybe you move a little. You might like to come up to a seat to complete your practice, or stay exactly as you are. And if you are closing right now with me, the hands might fold together in a prayer position or settle over the chest. We'll seal it off simply with a breath, nice full inhale, filling up the belly, the chest, all the way to the top back corner of the lungs. And then sigh all out the mouth, let it all go. Releasing your practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.